So hi guys, welcome to my lesson 10 RJ video. So today's RJ is share 3 key learning points that I have identified from my peer coaches during their training sessions and explain how I can apply it to my own coaching session for the ESE. So based on my TGFU lesson plan that I carried out today, I definitely feel that there are some areas that I can improve on, and when looking back and reflecting upon what my peer coaches actually did for their own lesson plan, I feel like there are some key takeaways that I can make use of so that when it comes to ESE, I will have a better flow for the lesson plan and how it's executed. So the three main things I'll be talking about today will be how I engage my players, the type of feedbacks that I give to my players, as well as the amount how I utilize the space that is given to me. Okay, so starting off with how I engage my players. So firstly, now I'll be looking at Shaheen. So I'll talk about what I did wrong. Okay, so this during my lesson, I did not set any rules as such. I was giving out instructions. They may not be focusing fully on me. And earlier in the session, there were times where Isis and Kester were not listening too closely on what I was talking about because they're playing the sticks. So she learning from Sapphire. What she did at the start would be to set some ground rules. So the grounds that she had set would be when she's talking, no one else is to be talking, and when she's talking, and if we're carrying the ball, then we are to put it on the floor. So what I should actually done would be like say that when I'm talking, you guys also to give me your full attention, and when I'm talking, you guys are put the sticks and balls on the floor. As such, it will allow me to get their you. I wouldn't have to ask them for their attention. Rather, it is a given that they should be paying attention to what I'm saying based on the ground rules that I set for them. So another thing will be when engaging my player will be how I give my attention, because during the first show that was being executed, I split Kester Isis into a group and Cleon and Shaheen another. Kester Isis were considerably better at doing the passing drill, and so I just set them to do 10 consecutive passes at that same range as earlier. And then I went to help with Cleon and Shaheen, who were struggling. But when I was still coaching Shaheen on how to do the pass properly, Kester and Isis actually finished that challenge and were getting bored, so they was just playing around by the side, which I shouldn't have done. So looking at Shaheen, what he actually did was when he noticed that a group of players were doing better, he actually just quickly progressed them so that they will not get bored and start to play around. So this will also allow them to challenge themselves earlier rather than waiting for the rest of the group to carry out. So like what I was saying in the COP, I didn't actually have to wait for everyone so they can progress on. Rather, I can just look at who is performing better, and then based on their results, I will progress them or regress them if need be. Okay, so next I'll be looking at the type of feedbacks that I give out. We'll also be looking at Shaheen as for the key takeaways that he did. So moving on to some things that I didn't do too well would be that during the practice game I could have given more prescriptive feedback. Even though I already had some comments such as like to look up and passing, I could have given other feedback such as to close their blades and to estimate the amount of energy used based on their teammate to know how hard to pass. In addition, during the game too, I could have utilized more freeze plays to allow players to understand more about how a certain team may have just won the point based on what execution or play or movement they did so that everyone in the court will be able to learn. So I didn't have much freeze plays, but when comparing to like Shaheen actually called out multiple freeze plays. So this allowed for like everyone that was playing his basketball game to understand why they had just scored, and to understand why the pass had just went through, or maybe it's not even like about the positives, maybe it can be about the negatives as well. So like there was once where Kester threw to Isis, but Cleon blocked it, so he called a freeze play and said, Kester, why do you pass an overhead block? Okay, not to insult Isis, but she is shorter, so as she was saying something like that, so like if you pass an overhead and Cleon is who is taller than her, it will be able to easily block. So maybe you could change the pass. So you see, even he's calling a freeze play on something is negative, but then he's giving a suggestion to what can be done to improve on. So then all of us would know that, okay, so we are facing some challenges. So what can we do? So instead of maybe doing a lot pass, we do the bounce pass. Yes. Okay, finally, the last thing to take note of, learning from other coaches would be the amount of space given to me. This was because the court size that I had set up may have been long, but it wasn't like wide. So even though my tactical problem was to keep possession and move into open space, they may have been able to keep possession because of they are able to pass. But when moving to open space, there may not have been as much open space like this type wide enough for them to like make a run. They can only like run up and down, which could have been very tiring, and also much harder to like receive a pass because there actually also isn't that much space. Yes, so learning from someone like Kester who did a volleyball game, his tactical problem was to spike into the open spaces or to also do a drop shot into open spaces. As such, the space that he had given was enough so that when we are attacking by doing the spike, we can like look at where the open spaces are. But when we are a defender, we can see we should be mindful of those like open spaces. So what I could have also done would be that obviously I will be making the court a bit wider next time, and also during my drills, because at first my 2 cones for the first run up was a bit too short, and in the floorball game the court is also much bigger. So I also have to kind of like create a game like scenario for them, even though it may be a modified game. I should also create it so that it's a bit more game like, because the first one was probably too short. As such, it may not have been realistic. So I will be increasing because I also have much more space than what I had actually used. I will be utilizing bigger space in the future. Even though I had mentioned 3, maybe there's one last thing that I would like to mention would be about my timing. So because this will be learning from ISIS, because today's lesson I would have had overshot if I didn't stop the game 2 a bit earlier. So this is because I had spent too much time on my practice session. So learning from ISIS, who was able to judge her time properly, so that she had enough time for like everything from game 1 all the way until game 2, where there was enough time for practice as well as enough time for game 2. So that since there's enough time for game 2, we were actually able to apply what we learned during the practice session into our game 2. So what I could be doing in the future was just to time myself at home, or just to try to learn about not like learn, but know when to cut, or know how much longer do I need for a certain drill based on the intensity and the difficulty of the drill. So if I have a simpler drill such as just normally passing to each other, I do not have to do it for very long. But if I had such as my second drill where they're supposed to run and burst, that is a harder drill, so I could spend more time on that drill instead of the first drill, so that I can proportional my time so that I have enough time for practice and then enough time for game 2, so they'll be able to apply what they learn. So with all this in mind, I'll be taking this from my peer coaches and implementing it into my ESE when the time comes. So that's all. Thank you.